Greetings, investigators. Tonight our chronicle takes us into the neon-lit underworld of Leonida, where two names sit side by side on a wanted poster the size of an entire state. Picture it now. The humidity hangs thick over Vice City, palm fronds sweating under sodium streetlights, and somewhere out past the causeways a speedboat idles in black water. On a dock, a man raises a pistol toward the dark. Beside him, a woman grips a briefcase like it holds her whole future. Behind them, the skyline glows pink and electric, indifferent to whatever they're about to do. These are our targets. Let's be honest, this trip to Leonida will probably change your worldview. So before we continue, hit subscribe and settle in. And while you're at it, tell us in the comments where you're listening from and what the clock says on your wall right now. We love knowing who's awake out there in the dark with us. Now, drop the brightness on your screen, settle in, and let's pull the files on tonight's target. Their names are Jason Duval and Lucia Caminos, and to understand why they matter, you first have to understand what Rockstar quietly walked away from to build them. Because for the last decade, the biggest structural idea in this franchise was arithmetic. Grand Theft Auto V, back in 2013, did something no mainline entry had dared before. It handed the player 3 protagonists instead of 1. Michael, the washed-up bank robber drowning in his own swimming pool of regret. Franklin, the repo man with ambitions bigger than his neighbourhood. And Trevor. Well, Trevor was Trevor, a man who treated the concept of impulse control as a vicious rumour. You could hold down on the D-pad, flick to a portrait on a wheel, and drop into whichever life you fancied. It was a magic trick that made Los Santos feel enormous, because you were living 3 separate stories that occasionally collided like drunk drivers at an intersection. And here's the quiet truth about that system, the one Rockstar clearly sat with for years. You could ignore 2/3 of it. A player could sink 20 hours into Michael's melancholy, barely nod at Franklin, and treat Trevor like that one relative you only see at funerals. The 3 lives intersected, but they were still 3 lives. 3 apartments, 3 problems, 3 separate midlife crises playing out in parallel. The switching was spectacle. It was rarely intimacy. Grand Theft Auto 6 does the opposite. It narrows. It takes that character switch mechanic, the franchise's most celebrated toy, and points it at exactly 2 people who happen to be sleeping in the same bed. Jason and Lucia are not 3 strangers whose paths cross. They are a couple. One story, told from 2 vantage points, which is a genuinely different animal. You're not checking in on a separate subplot when you swap, you're seeing the same night from the other side of the pillow. Rockstar has framed this deliberately, invoking the ghost of Bonnie-and-Clyde, the Depression-era lovebirds who turned armed robbery into a 2-person road trip that ended, spoiler, extremely badly. If you know your history, you already know the shape of the dread hanging over this whole thing. Now, our core trailer fact for the evening, and it's the one that set the internet on fire on May the 6th, 2025, when the second trailer finally dropped. That image I described, the dock, the pistol, the briefcase, the pink skyline, that's not fan art. That's Rockstar's own promotional still, released alongside the trailer, Jason with the gun drawn, Lucia clutching the briefcase, a helicopter and a speedboat lurking in the frame like the whole scene is one bad decision away from a chase. Everything about that composition screams partnership. Not partnership as in a business arrangement. Partnership as in 2 people who've decided their survival is a shared project. Rockstar even gave the whole thing a mission statement. A single line of official copy that functions as the emotional thesis of the game. Jason and Lucia have always known the deck is stacked against them. It's the language of a survival story, not a power fantasy. Nobody's trying to become king of Vice City here. They're just trying to make it to next week with a pulse and a plan. Which brings us to our HD universe continuity check, because this couple didn't materialize from a vacuum. They sit at the end of a long, twitchy lineage. Think about who came before. Claude in Grand Theft Auto. 3 never said a word. He was a silent instrument of vengeance. Tommy Vercetti strutted through the neon of the original 1980s Vice City as a pure power fantasy in a Hawaiian shirt. Carl Johnson had family and gang loyalty pulling at his ankles across San Andreas. Nico Bellic carried the entire weight of the immigrant dream and its disappointments through Liberty City in Grand Theft Auto 4, melancholic to his bones, and then GTA 5 blew the concept apart into 3. What Jason and Lucia represent is Rockstar taking the emotional depth they achieved with a single character. The kind of Bond players formed with Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2, where you genuinely flinch at the thought of him getting hurt, and attempting to pull it off twice at once, with two people whose fates are welded together, that's the tightrope. If Jason's half of the game feels like one experience, and Lucia's feels like a completely different one, the entire romantic criminal framing collapses like a bad soufflé. The tone has to hold across both. Rockstar has never had to sustain that particular kind of consistency before, and they're betting the most valuable entertainment product in human history on getting it right, and the fans naturally have already turned this into a full-time obsession, which gives us our community discovery for the section. From the moment those two silhouettes appeared, the theory forums lit up trying to reverse engineer exactly how the switching will work this time. Will it be the familiar GTA 5 character wheel, hold down and flick? Will you be able to swap mid-mission, mid-firefight, mid-chase? Product listings that surfaced on retail sites, the kind of thing eagle-eyed fans screenshot at 3 in the morning and post to Discord like they've cracked the Zodiac cipher, described being able to switch between Jason and Lucia during the story and, in a phrase that launched 1,000 threads, participate in missions as a duo. The community has run wild with that word duo, debating whether it means co-op style tandem control or perspective swapping, or something Rockstar hasn't shown us yet. Nobody actually knows. That's the beautiful, maddening thing about this era of GTA 6 anticipation. We have just enough confirmed material to build a scaffold, and just enough silence to fill the gaps with fever dreams. So that's the foundation. 2 protagonists where there used to be 3, a couple where there used to be strangers, a survival story dressed in the neon of a place that only looks like paradise. Over the next 14 files, we're going to pull each of these threads apart. Who Jason really is, who Lucia really is, how the system that binds them actually functions, and every corrupt cop, swamp kingpin, and record label hustler orbiting their doomed little love story. But it all starts here, with the single most important decision Rockstar made. They made you care about 2 people instead of admiring 3. Let's start with the man holding the pistol on that dock, because Jason Duval is, in many ways, the easiest of our 2 targets to underestimate, and Rockstar seems to know it. If Lucia is the engine, Jason is the guy standing next to the engine muttering that maybe they should just take the bus. His entire confirmed character, straight from Rockstar's official bio, orbits a single sad little wish. He wants an easy life. That's it. That's the dream. Not an empire, not a throne, not a mountain of cocaine visible from space. Just easy. And the cruel joke the game seems built around is that easy is the one thing the universe has categorically refused to sell him. Here's what Rockstar has actually confirmed about his history, and it's a portrait of a man who's been swimming upstream since birth. Jason grew up, in the bio's own phrasing, around grifters and crooks. So the criminal world isn't something he wandered into as an adult looking for a thrill. It's the water he was born in. It's the family business, the neighborhood default, the ambient hum of his childhood. To escape it, he did what a lot of American kids with no better options do. He joined the army. That was his exit ramp, his shot at structure and discipline, and a life measured in something other than scores and sentences. And it evidently didn't take, because here he is in the present day of the story, out of the service and right back in the muck working for a local drug runner in the Leonida Keys. So much for the exit ramp. The road just loops right back to where it started, which is a feeling anyone who's ever tried to quit a bad habit will recognise with a wince. That drug runner has a name, Brian Heder, and we'll dedicate a whole file to him later, because the man is a swamp legend in his own right. But the relationship is worth previewing here, because it defines Jason's daily existence. Jason lives rent-free on one of Brian's properties down in the Keys. Sounds sweet, right? Free rent in a tropical paradise? Except this is Grand Theft Auto, so of course there's a catch. And the catch is that Jason pays that rent in favours, specifically in shakedowns, extortion, and generally being the guy who does the dangerous work while the old-timer stays home and enjoys his retirement. Rockstar even worked in a detail about stopping by for sangria with Brian's third wife Lori, which tells you everything about the cosy but crooked domestic arrangement Jason stuck inside. He's not a kingpin, he's a guy paying his housing costs in intimidation and the occasional glass of homemade sangria. It's oddly relatable, in a way that should probably concern us all. Now for our core trailer fact, and this one's a big one, because the second trailer, the near 3-minute one that arrived on May 6th, 2025, is Jason's showcase. While the promotional still framed the couple together, The trailer itself leans heavily into his perspective. It opens, crucially, with Jason waiting outside a facility for Lucia, biding his time while the Pointer Sisters hot together, plays over the images, and later in that same trailer comes the moment that fans have replayed frame by frame. Jason piloting a fast boat at full throttle through the Keys, cutting across turquoise water with the confidence of someone who's done it 1,000 times in the dark with the running lights off. That single shot does more character work than a page of dialogue. It establishes his operational identity. This is a man of the water, a coastal creature, comfortable with maritime navigation and quiet smuggling routes, and the kind of below-the-radar movement the Keys demand. Rockstar didn't give us Jason's exact age or his full biography, and anyone claiming they have it is selling you fan fiction. But they gave us his element, and his element is salt water and engine noise. For our HD universe continuity check, Jason slots neatly into a very specific Rockstar archetype. The competent criminal who desperately wants out. Cast your mind back to Michael DeSanta in Grand Theft Auto 5, a man who faked his own death, took witness protection, and spent his days by the pool trying and failing to leave the life behind, only to get dragged back in the moment things got interesting. Jason is cut from adjacent cloth. He's not the wide-eyed newcomer like Franklin, and he's certainly not the agent of pure chaos like Trevor. He's the guy who knows exactly how the machine works, understands it from the inside, and would give anything to walk away from it, which, as Michael could tell him from experience, is precisely the type of man the machine never lets go. There's even a whisper of Nico Bellic in him, that same weary sense of a soldier who came home from something ugly and found peace stubbornly out of reach. Rockstar loves this guy. They keep writing him. He just keeps not getting the easy life. And then there's the line of dialogue that fandom has adopted as Jason's whole thesis, which brings us neatly to the community angle. In the second trailer, Brian Heder tells Jason, more or less, to just go get him his checks. A curt little instruction that, in context, seems to send Jason off to collect on debts and do the dirty work. What made fans lose their collective minds was what happens right after that beat. The trailer cuts to police officers. That juxtaposition, Jason being sent to collect, immediately followed by a flash of law enforcement, lit up the theory forums instantly. The dominant read on the mapping and law discords is that Jason's personal information has landed in the wrong hands, that his cozy shakedown arrangement is about to become the thread that unravels everything, and that the cut to cops is Rockstar telegraphing exactly how the walls start closing in. Is that confirmed? Absolutely not. Rockstar has said nothing. But it's a gorgeous piece of editing to obsess over at 2 a.m, and obsess the community has. There's one more fan-favourite detail worth flagging carefully, because it lives right on the border between observation and speculation. Sharp-eyed viewers spotted a tattoo on Jason's shoulder and immediately declared it a paratrooper insignia, evidence of a specific military specialisation. Now, Rockstar confirmed the army. Rockstar did not confirm paratrooper. That leap is community connective tissue, the kind of dot connecting that this fanbase performs with almost forensic intensity, and it's exactly the sort of thing you should file under compelling but unverified. The confirmed fact is the army service and the troubled youth that preceded it. Everything past that is fans doing what fans do best, staring at a 2-second shot until it confesses. So who is Jason Duval really, based only on what Rockstar has put in front of us? He's a former soldier who grew up among criminals, tried the honourable route, washed back out into the tide, and now lives in a borrowed house in the Keys, paying his way in muscle and menace. He's grounded where Lucia is ambitious, calm where she's driven, cautious where she's ready to leap. And Rockstar dropped one final loaded line into his bio, a line that hangs over this entire relationship like weather. Meeting Lucia could be the best or the worst thing that ever happens to him. Note the awe. Note that Rockstar deliberately left both doors open. In a franchise this fond of tragedy, that's not a coin flip you feel good betting on, but it's the reason we keep watching. And in the next file, we cross the fence to the other half of this doomed partnership, to the woman with the briefcase fresh out of the penitentiary and done playing small. Now cross the fence to the woman with the briefcase, because if Jason is the man who wants off the ride, Lucia Caminos is the one with her foot on the accelerator. Rockstar has been careful to paint them as opposites, who somehow point the same direction, and where Jason's defining wish is a quiet life, Lucia's defining wish is a better one, and she is emphatically not willing to wait around politely for it. She's the sharper edge of this partnership, the driver of its ambition, the half of the couple who looked at the deck stacked against her and decided the only sensible response was to learn how to cheat. If you're keeping score at home, Jason wants to stop playing. Lucia wants to play better. That tension is the whole engine of the thing. Let's do the confirmed biography, because Rockstar's official bio for Lucia is dense with the kind of details that shape a person. From very early on, as soon as she could walk, in the bio's own words, Lucia's father taught her to fight. Sit with that for a second. Before most kids can reliably operate a spoon, Lucia was learning to throw hands. That's not a hobby a father teaches a toddler in a peaceful world. That's a survival skill passed down like a family heirloom, the assumption baked in from birth that life was going to come swinging and she'd better be ready to swing back. And come swinging it did. Those lessons, Rockstar tells us, came in handy, because Lucia ended up incarcerated in the Leonida penitentiary, and the reason she landed there is the detail that tells you everything about her moral compass. She was protecting her family. She didn't go to prison for greed or cruelty or some cold-blooded score. She went for the most sympathetic reason the criminal underworld offers. She fought for the people she loved. The consequences were severe, and she paid them. How does she get out? This is the part I love because it's so honest about how the world actually works. Rockstar's bio says she gets out through sheer luck. Not a brilliant legal team, not a clever escape, not some grand redemptive twist. Luck, the random indifferent kind. The prison gate happens to swing open for her, and she walks through it having decided that from here on out, she's going to be smart. And here's the deadpan Rockstar punchline buried in that resolution. Smart to Lucia doesn't mean going straight. It means committing more sophisticated crimes than before. She's not swearing off the life. She's swearing off getting caught. It's the criminal equivalent of a New Year's resolution to make better mistakes. And it is frankly a very relatable form of self-improvement. Underneath all of it is the driving dream. And this is where our HD universe continuity check clicks into place beautifully. Rockstar's bio states that more than anything, Lucia wants the good life her mum has dreamed of since their days in Liberty City. Liberty City. That's not a throwaway line. That's a load-bearing wall connecting this entire game to Grand Theft Auto 4. Liberty City is Rockstar's version of New York, the melancholy sprawl where Nico Bellic chased and failed to catch the American dream back in 2008. Lucia's family came from there before washing down to Leonida, which means her whole ambition is inherited northern city hunger transplanted into southern heat. Her mother dreamed the dream in Liberty City and got presumably half-baked fantasies for her trouble. Lucia's entire arc is the refusal to accept fantasies. Instead, in the bio's words, she's prepared to take matters into her own hands. She's the second generation deciding that if the dream won't come to the family will go take the dream by force. That's a very different, very deliberate flavour of GTA Protagonist, and the Liberty City thread makes her feel like a continuation of the franchise's oldest obsession rather than a fresh invention. Our core trailer fact, and it's the single most replayed moment of the second trailer, it opens on Lucia's release. Where Jason's showcase was that fast boat through the Keys, Lucia's is the prison gate. The May 2025 trailer begins with her walking out of incarceration, set to the Pointer Sisters hot together, with Jason waiting for her on the outside. The two threads of the couple's story literally converging in the opening seconds. And here's the visual detail that launched 1,000 theories, which I'll only tease tonight because it earns its own file later. As she steps back into the world, Lucia is wearing an ankle monitor, a Department of Corrections tracker strapped to her leg, the unmistakable badge of someone the state hasn't quite finished with. We'll get into what the community thinks that hardware means for actual gameplay in a later section. The theories are wild and Rockstar has stayed maddeningly silent, but for now, just clock the image. First protagonist we meet, and she's already tagged like a wild animal being tracked across the wetlands. Now for the historical weight, because Lucia carries some. She is, as you've heard everywhere, the first female protagonist in a mainline Grand Theft Auto. And this is where I have to put my honest researcher hat on, because that claim needs a small asterisk. If you go all the way back through franchise history, the very first Grand Theft Auto from 1997 and its sequel had selectable characters that included women, and Grand Theft Auto Online lets you build a female protagonist. So the pedants, and the internet is a nation of pedants, will correctly point out that Lucia isn't literally the first woman you've ever played in this series. What she is, precisely, is the first non-optional, pre-authored, fully voiced female lead in a mainline entry. She's not a silent avatar or a character creator option. She's a written person with a name, a backstory, a voice, and a mandatory place at the centre of the story. That distinction matters, and it's why this is a genuine milestone for a franchise that spent nearly 3 decades handing the wheel exclusively to men. Which brings us to our community discovery, and it's a two-parter, because the fandom has been busy. First, the casting obsession. Rockstar has confirmed exactly 0 voice actors for this game, not 1, but that hasn't stopped the community from performing forensic waveform analysis on every syllable in the trailers. The name that gets attached to Lucia over and over is the actress Manielle Perez, a rumour repeated so often that people forget it's still just a rumour. Treat it as unconfirmed because it is. Second, and more fun, is how the fanbase has slotted Lucia into Rockstar's own recent history. The comparison you'll see everywhere on the lore forums is Sadie Adler from Red Dead Redemption 2, a female outlaw, a companion to the male lead, and a woman deadly proficient with a firearm. The parallels are strong enough that fans have essentially declared Lucia the spiritual successor, a hardened survivor who lost enough to stop flinching. Some sharper-eyed lore historians even reach back to Catalina from the older 3D universe games, the volatile girlfriend-turned-criminal who was herself a Bonnie-and-Clyde riff, and argue Rockstar is finally giving that archetype the full protagonist treatment she was always circling. None of that is Rockstar canon. All of it is the community reading the tea leaves with the intensity of people who've been waiting over a decade for this game, and have a lot of energy to burn. So there she is, in full from only what's been confirmed, a fighter since before she could talk, imprisoned for defending her own blood, freed by dumb luck, carrying her mother's Liberty City dream like a debt she intends to collect, tagged with a monitor she clearly resents, and utterly done thinking small. Pair her with Jason, the man who just wants it all to stop, and you can already feel the fault line running down the middle of the relationship. He's the brakes, she's the gas, and somewhere out there, an easy score is waiting to go catastrophically wrong. But before we get to that score, we need to understand the moment their two paths visibly braid together on screen. The prison gate, the waiting man, and the song. That's the next file. That prison gate, the waiting man, and the song. That's where the whole partnership announces itself, and it's worth slowing down on. Because the way Rockstar chose to open the second trailer tells you something structural about how this story is built. Most crime sagas begin with a meeting. 2 strangers, a job, a handshake, and off we go. Grand Theft. Auto 6 does not do that. When the May 2025 trailer fades in, Jason and Lucia already know each other. There's no origin scene, no how they met, no awkward first conversation over a stolen car. The trailer opens on Lucia stepping out of incarceration, and Jason already there, already waiting, already hers. The relationship predates the story, and that single creative decision, starting in the middle of the thing rather than at the beginning, changes the entire emotional temperature of what Rockstar is attempting. Let's establish the core trailer fact cleanly, because the details here are confirmed and specific. The second trailer, released May 6, 2025, opens with Lucia's release from prison, scored to the Pointer Sisters' Hot Together, with Jason waiting outside for her. That's the sequence. The song choice is not an accident. Rockstar has always used music as an emotional scalpel, and Hot Together is a warm, soulful, almost tender track, to lay over the image of a woman walking out of a penitentiary into the arms of the man she's about to burn down a state with. There's a deliberate dissonance in it, the sweetness of the music against the hardness of the circumstance. That's the tonal signature of the whole game in one opening beat. Paradise and rot, love and crime, the sunniest place in America hiding its darkest side. Rockstar told us that's the thesis, almost word for word, and they encoded it into the very first 30 seconds of their biggest trailer. Now, why does starting in the middle matter so much? Because it hands Rockstar a narrative gift they've rarely given themselves: momentum from frame one. Think about how previous protagonists were introduced. Nico Bellic arrives in Liberty City by boat, a stranger to everyone, and the game spends hours building his relationships from scratch. Carl Johnson comes home to a family he's been estranged from, and you rebuild those bonds mission by mission. Even in Grand Theft Auto 5, Michael and Trevor's shared history is a mystery that unspools gradually. You're assembling their past as you play. Lucia and Jason skip all of that. Their bond is a given, a fact of the world you're dropped into, which means the story doesn't have to spend its opening act convincing you these two people matter to each other. It just gets to start applying pressure. That's what fans and analysts have called the in medias res approach, Latin for into the middle of things. And it's a storytelling technique that separates GTA 6 from the typical lone protagonist origin story, where you slowly earn your place in a world. Here, you already have a place. You have a partner. And the game's job is to test what happens to that partnership when everything goes sideways. Here's a sensory detail worth lingering on, because it's the kind of thing Rockstar builds entire scenes around. Imagine the Florida heat coming off the pavement outside that facility. The chain link, the razor wire catching the sun, the particular ugliness of institutional architecture. And then Lucia walks out into it, free technically, but with that ankle monitor still cinched to her leg, a physical reminder that the state's hand is still resting on her shoulder. Jason's leaning against something, maybe a car, doing that thing people do when they're trying to look casual about a moment that isn't casual at all. The music swells. Two people who've clearly been counting down to this exact minute finally close the distance. It's a reunion and a starting gun at the same time. Rockstar frames it as romance, but every investigator in this audience should recognize it for what it structurally is, the moment the fuse gets lit. For our HD universe continuity check, this couple first framing is genuinely new territory for the mainline series, but it rhymes with something Rockstar already proved they could do. Cast back to Red Dead Redemption 2 and the Van der Linde gang. The strength of that game came from dropping you into a web of relationships that already existed. Arthur Morgan already had a history with Dutch, with Hosea, with John Marston. You weren't building those bonds, you were living inside them and watching them fracture. GTA 6 takes that same principle, established relationships under mounting strain, and concentrates it down to its most intense possible form. Not a gang of 20, but a couple of 2. Every bit of trust that RDR2 spread across a whole camp, GTA 6 loads onto Jason and Lucia's single relationship, which means when the cracks come, and in a Rockstar tragedy, the cracks always come, there's nowhere for that tension to disperse. It all lands on the two people you're playing. That's a more dangerous, more personal design than anything the franchise has tried, and it traces directly back to the emotional machinery of RDR2. The community, of course, has been dissecting that opening sequence like it's the Zapruder film, which gives us our community discovery for the file. The big debate isn't really about the release scene itself, it's about what the couple-first structure implies for the mechanics of how you'll actually play. If Jason and Lucia are together from the very start and stay bound throughout, fans have argued endlessly about whether that means the two characters are ever meaningfully separated at all, or whether the game keeps them in near constant proximity the way the trailers suggest. Some in the mapping and theory communities have pointed to the way the trailers repeatedly show the pair operating side by side, planning together, running together, escaping together, as evidence that the switching system this time is less about checking in on a distant Second Life, and more about experiencing shared events from two angles. Others push back, arguing there must be solo stretches, that a story needs its characters apart sometimes to build tension. Rockstar hasn't settled it. What's confirmed is only what the trailer shows, a relationship already in flight, a woman freed, a man waiting, and a song that makes the whole doomed thing feel, for a moment, almost gentle. And that gentleness is the trap, isn't it? Because we've been told the deck is stacked against them. We've been told an easy score goes wrong. We know structurally that this warm reunion outside a prison gate is the calm before a very specific storm. Rockstar opened on the sweetest possible image precisely because they intend to spend the rest of the game complicating it. That's how tragedy works. You don't mourn what you never loved. So the storyteller makes you love it first. The hot together opening is the love. What comes after is the stacked deck. But before the deck reveals itself, before the failed heist and the statewide conspiracy and all the corrupt machinery grinding toward these two, we need to understand the actual mechanism that lets you inhabit both halves of this partnership. Because a story about two people experiencing the same events, from two perspectives, only works if the game hands you a way to move between them. That's the character switch system, the franchise's most celebrated toy, rebuilt for a couple instead of a trio. What Rockstar has confirmed about it, what the retail listings quietly revealed, and what the fans have extrapolated into the stratosphere, that's the next file. That mechanism, the franchise's most celebrated toy, rebuilt for a couple, is where confirmed fact and feverish speculation get tangled up so tightly that separating them becomes a full-time job. So let's do exactly that, carefully, because this is the beating heart of the dual protagonist system our whole chronicle is named after, and it's also the area where the internet has done the most enthusiastic guessing. Tonight we draw a hard line down the middle. What Rockstar and official sources have actually confirmed on one side, and what the community has reasonably extrapolated on the other. No blurring. You deserve to know which is which. Start with the bedrock. The thing nobody disputes. Grand Theft Auto 6 has 2 playable protagonists, Jason and Lucia, and you will be able to switch between them. That much is locked. Every trailer, every piece of promotional material, every official bio treats the pair as co-equal, leads you in habit rather than watch. The switching itself isn't a new invention. It's the returning signature of Grand Theft Auto 5, refined and pointed at 2 people instead of 3. So the concept is confirmed. The precedent is confirmed. Where it gets interesting is in the specifics, because on the specifics, Rockstar itself has been almost comically tight-lipped. As of the game's confirmed November 2026 launch window, Rockstar has not released a single frame of actual gameplay footage demonstrating the Switch. Everything we think we know about the how comes from other sources, and here's where our core trailer fact tonight is really a core retail listing fact, because the most concrete details didn't come from a trailer at all. They came from store pages. When GTA 6 listings went live on retail platforms, sharp-eyed fans found product descriptions that quietly spelled out mechanics Rockstar hadn't announced from a stage. One listing, spotted on Amazon's Brazilian storefront, described the ability to switch between Jason and Lucia during the story, and participate in missions as a duo. Another retail listing, on the platform Kaboom, described 2 playable protagonists with co-op mission mechanics. Now, these are official adjacent, their store descriptions presumably fed from publisher-supplied copy, not random speculation, but they're also not a Rockstar Newswire post or a gameplay reveal, so treat them as strong evidence rather than gospel. What they collectively suggest is a 2-tier system, free roam switching when you're just out exploring Leonida, and a tighter tandem duo structure during scripted story missions where the pair operates together rather than apart. That word duo is where the community lost its mind, and I want to be honest about the ambiguity because responsible investigation means admitting what we don't know. Participate in missions as a duo could mean several different things. It could mean the GTA 5 model, where certain missions let you swap between characters to tackle different objectives, one on a rooftop with a rifle, the other on the ground. It could mean something closer to genuine tandem control, where both characters are active in a scene and you flow between them fluidly. It could even hint at co-op ambitions for the eventual online component. Rockstar has not clarified, so when you see a confident YouTube thumbnail declaring GTA 6 confirms full co-op campaign, understand that they are building a skyscraper on the foundation of a single ambiguous retail sentence. The honest answer is that the exact rules of the Switch remain officially undetailed. Now let's talk about the extrapolation, clearly labelled as such, because it's reasonable and worth understanding. Based purely on the GTA 5 precedent, the community's best guess for the control scheme is the familiar character wheel. Hold down on the D-pad, flick the right analog stick to select the character you want from a wheel that appears in the corner of the screen, then release to complete the swap. That's how it worked for Michael, Franklin and Trevor, and there's no strong reason to expect Rockstar to abandon a control scheme players already have muscle memory for, but, and I cannot stress this enough, Rockstar has not confirmed this control scheme for GTA 6. It's a logical inference, not fact. The same goes for the widespread assumption that the 2 characters will have distinct playstyles. Jason leaning into weapons and tactical combat because of his army. Background, Lucia leaning toward melee and hand-to-hand because her bio makes such a point of her being a lifelong fighter. It's a clean, intuitive theory that maps perfectly onto their confirmed backstories. It is also, as of now, entirely unconfirmed. Rockstar has said nothing about special abilities or divergent skill trees. I want to flag one more thing in the interest of keeping us honest, because it's the kind of detail that gets laundered into confirmed status through sheer repetition. You'll find sites listing very specific mechanics, a 3-mode selection wheel offering solo Jason, solo Lucia, and simultaneous dual control. Special abilities where Jason gets a Deadeye-style slow-motion weak point mode, and Lucia gets a single-shot slow-mo. These details trace back not to Rockstar, but largely to the enormous 2022 development leak. Footage that was genuine but pulled from an unfinished in-progress build that may bear little resemblance to the final game. So while those specifics circulate everywhere with an air of authority, the intellectually honest position is that leaked pre-release footage from years before launch is not the same as a Rockstar confirmation. Interesting? Deeply. Confirmed? No. File accordingly. For our HD universe continuity check, the fascinating thing is how the switch changes, meaning when you go from 3 characters to 2. In Grand Theft Auto 5, swapping to another protagonist often felt like changing the channel. You'd flick to Trevor and find him passed out in the desert next to a corpse, living a completely separate life you'd been ignoring. The switch was a portal into a parallel subplot. Franklin's problems weren't Michael's problems, weren't Trevor's problems. They intersected, but they were distinct lives. GTA 6 fundamentally repurposes the mechanic, because Jason and Lucia are a couple who operate together and share one story. Swapping between them, in theory, isn't about checking on a distant separate life. It's about seeing the same situation from the other side, or coordinating during a shared operation. The tool is the same. Its narrative function is transformed. That's the genuine innovation here, and it's why comparing GTA 6's switch to GTA 5's, while accurate on the surface, actually undersells how differently it's likely to feel. Which brings us to our community discovery, and it's really a community anxiety. The most persistent thread on the theory forums isn't excitement about the switch, it's worry. Specifically, fans fixate on the risk Rockstar is running. If the switching between Jason and Lucia isn't seamless, if there's a loading hitch or a jarring transition, the whole one story, two perspectives magic could shatter. The community has latched onto Rockstar's confirmation of near-instant loading on the PlayStation 5's solid-state drive as the technical promise that makes the dream possible, and they've pointed to other current-generation games that pulled off instant character swapping as proof the hardware can do it. It's a hopeful theory built on a real confirmed detail. The fast loading is genuinely confirmed, wrapped around an unconfirmed assumption about how flawlessly the swap will execute. Classic community behaviour. Take one solid fact and construct an entire cathedral of optimism on top of it. So here's where we actually stand, stripped of hype. Confirmed. 2 protagonists, switching exists. It's rooted in GTA 5 system. Retail listings point to free roam swapping plus duo missions, and PS5 loading is fast. Unconfirmed. The exact control scheme, distinct abilities, divergent playstyles, the 3-mode wheel, and every specific mechanic sourced from the 2022 leak. That's the honest map. And the switch is only half the story of how these two are bound together, because a shared control system means nothing without shared stakes. Money, hideouts, and the heat of every crime you commit. Rockstar has confirmed those are shared too. How that shared resource architecture welds 2 people into a single survival unit, that's the next file. Shared stakes, that's the part that turns 2 playable characters into a single survival unit, and it's a genuinely clever piece of design philosophy that Rockstar has confirmed, even if the internet spends less time on it than on the flashier stuff. Because here's the thing, a switch mechanic just lets you change who you're looking at. What makes Jason and Lucia feel like a couple, rather than 2 separate save files, is that their fortunes are welded together at the systems level. What one of them does, both of them live with. That's not romance as set dressing. That's romance encoded into the plumbing of the game. Let's establish what's actually confirmed, because this is the load-bearing detail. Rockstar and the surrounding official material have indicated that Jason and Lucia share their core resources. Their money, their hideouts, and crucially their heat, their wanted level. Think about what that means in practice. In Grand Theft Auto 5, Michael, Franklin and Trevor each had their own separate finances, their own safe houses, their own independent relationships with the law. You could have Trevor wanted by every cop in the state while Michael sat calmly in his mansion, untouched, because they were 3 separate lives with 3 separate ledgers. That separation was the whole point of the trio. 3 men, 3 orbits, occasionally colliding. GTA 6 collapses that. The couple shares one pool, one bank account effectively, one set of hideouts to run to, and one shared temperature of trouble, so that when the heat rises on one of them, it rises on both. sit with the design intelligence of that, because it's doing enormous emotional work through pure mechanics. If Jason goes and does something reckless, a shakedown that spirals, a smuggling run that gets spotted, and the wanted level climbs, that's not just Jason's problem to sleep off, it's Lucia's problem too, because they share the heat. Suddenly the game is teaching you, through consequence rather than cutscene, that these two people are genuinely in it together. Their survival is a joint venture. You can't compartmentalise them the way you could the GTA 5 trio. There's no let Trevor cool off while I play someone stable. When the deck is stacked against them, it's stacked against both of them simultaneously, and the shared resource system is how Rockstar makes you feel that in your bones instead of just reading it in a bio. This is the mechanical expression of the phrase we keep coming back to, the one from that publication's framing that stuck with me. Their stories aren't two separate narratives that happen to intersect. They're a single narrative experienced from two perspectives. The shared money and shared heat are what make that literally true at the level of the game's rules. You're not managing two lives. You're managing one life that happens to have two bodies. And that's a profound departure from everything the franchise did before, because for the first time, the character switch isn't a way to escape your current character's problems. It's a way to look at your shared problems from a different angle. There's no escape hatch. There's just the two of you and the mess you're both standing in. Our core trailer fact here is a little subtler than a pistol on a dock, but it's woven all through the trailers. The constant framing of Jason and Lucia in the same physical space, working the same jobs, running from the same trouble. The second trailer repeatedly shows them together, planning, robbing, escaping, sharing quiet moments. That visual insistence on togetherness is Rockstar telegraphing the shared systems philosophy without ever putting a UI element on screen. When you see the two of them fleeing a scene side by side, rather than in separate getaway cars headed to separate safe houses, you're seeing the shared hideout, shared heat design made visual. The trailers never once frame them as two independent operators running parallel lives. They're always, relentlessly, a unit. That's not just narrative preference. It's the interface between story and system, and it's confirmed by every frame of promotional footage Rockstar has released. Now, for our HD universe continuity check, this shared resource model is where GTA 6 quietly breaks from its own predecessor in the most instructive way. Grand Theft Auto V's separation of the three protagonists' resources wasn't a limitation. It was a feature, and a thematically resonant one. Michael, Franklin and Trevor were meant to feel like three men who fundamentally did not belong in each other's lives, thrown together by circumstance and mutual usefulness, each guarding his own money and his own turf. The mechanical separation reinforced the emotional separation. They were partners of convenience, not partners of the heart. GTA 6 inverts every piece of that. By pooling the resources, Rockstar is mechanically arguing that Jason and Lucia belong together, that their interests are genuinely fused, that there's no meaningful yours and mine between them, only ours. It's the difference between a business arrangement and a marriage, expressed entirely through where the game decides to store your cash and your wanted stars. Rockstar has always been sophisticated about letting systems carry theme, and this might be the cleanest example they've ever built. Which sets up an ominous question the community has seized on, and here's our community discovery. If everything is shared, money, hideouts, heat, then the theory forums have spent considerable energy wargaming what happens when the relationship strains, because we've been told this is a tragedy in the making. We've been told meeting each other could be the best or worst thing to happen to Jason. So fans have asked, what does the shared resource system do to the story if trust between the two starts to fracture? Some in the theory community have speculated, entirely without confirmation, that the game might play with the shared pool as a source of drama, that a betrayal, a hidden stash, a moment where one partner holds something back from the other could carry real mechanical weight precisely because the default state is total sharing. The idea is that when everything is ours, the first mine becomes a knife. Now, to be crystal clear, Rockstar has confirmed none of that. There's no confirmed betrayal mechanic, no confirmed trust meter, no confirmed system where the pool splits. It's pure fan extrapolation from the confirmed foundation of shared resources plus the confirmed thematic promise of a doomed partnership. But it's a gorgeous, dread-soaked theory, and it shows how deeply the community has internalized what Rockstar is building toward. There's one more confirmed wrinkle worth mentioning. because it grounds all this abstraction in Jason and Lucia's actual living situation. Remember that the pair, per the confirmed bios, live together rent-free on Brian Heder's property in the Leonida Keys, with Jason paying that rent in shakedowns and debt collection. So the shared hideout system isn't just a menu abstraction, it's built into their confirmed circumstances from the story's opening. They share a home before they share a getaway. The Keys property is the first shared hideout, the domestic foundation on top of which the whole shared survival architecture gets built. It's a small detail, but it makes the systems feel like they grew out of the characters rather than being bolted on. These two already share a bed and a landlord. Of course they share a bank account and a wanted level. The mechanics simply extend the intimacy the bios already established. So that's the shared resource system. One pool of money, one set of hideouts, one shared heat, all confirmed, all in service of making two people feel like one fate. It's the mechanical soul of the dual protagonist design, and it's why this couple hits differently than any trio ever could. But there's one resource Lucia does not get to fully share. One constraint clamped to her leg alone from the moment she walks free. That ankle monitor. It's Rockstar's most tantalizing confirmed image, and its most maddening confirmed silence. Because the community is convinced it's a gameplay mechanic, and Rockstar refuses to say that's the next file. That ankle monitor clamped to Lucia's leg is, without exaggeration, one of the most discussed single props in the entire pre-release history of this game, and the reason is a perfect storm of confirmed image and total official silence. Rockstar showed it to us plainly. Rockstar has said absolutely nothing about what it does, and into that gap between we can all see it and nobody will explain it, the community has poured months of theorizing. Tonight we pull that particular file, and I'll warn you up front, this is a section where the honest answer to the biggest question is a shrug. But it's a fascinating shrug, so stay with me. Let's nail the core trailer fact first, because the visual is confirmed and specific. In the promotional material in the second trailer, Lucia is depicted wearing an electronic ankle monitor, the kind of Department of Corrections tracking device strapped to the leg of someone on parole, on house arrest, or otherwise still tethered to the justice system after release. Given her confirmed backstory, imprisoned at the Leonida Penitentiary then released, the monitor makes perfect narrative sense. She's out, but she's not free. The state let her walk through the gate, but it kept a leash on her ankle. That's not speculation. That's the plain reading of a confirmed image against a confirmed bio. She steps into the sunlight of Vice City wearing the unmistakable badge of the not quite liberated. As a piece of character shorthand, it's exquisite. In a single prop, Rockstar communicates her entire status, dangerous enough to have been locked up, valuable enough to have gotten out, and watched enough that she can't simply vanish into the crowd. The monitor is her situation, worn on her body. Now here's where the confirmed part ends and the great debate begins, and it's genuinely one of the most interesting open questions about the game. The moment fans saw that monitor, a very specific theory ignited. What if the ankle monitor isn't just a story detail? What if it's a gameplay mechanic? The reasoning is elegant. Grand Theft Auto games have a long history of gating the map, of not letting you access the whole world at the start. In older entries, bridges were closed for repairs, or islands were locked until you progressed the story, a slightly clumsy way of controlling your early access. So the theory goes, what if Lucia's ankle monitor is Rockstar's diegetic, in-world version of that gate? What if, during the opening hours of the game, the monitor restricts where Lucia can go, keeps her within a certain radius, triggers a police response if she strays too far, and part of the early story is about getting that thing off her leg so the full map opens up? It's a beautiful theory because it turns an old, artificial game convention into something that actually makes sense within the fiction. No more, the bridge is under construction. Instead, the state is literally tracking your movements, so you're limited until you deal with it. The theory gained so much traction that it became one of the default assumptions in a lot of GTA 6 coverage. You'll find it stated all over the place with varying degrees of confidence. And here's my job as your investigator, to tell you clearly that Rockstar has never confirmed the ankle monitor affects gameplay in any way, not once. It remains, in the plainest terms, a fan theory. A widespread, intelligent, internally consistent fan theory, but a theory. Rockstar showed the prop and said nothing about its function. Everything beyond Lucia wears a monitor is the community connecting dots that Rockstar has pointedly declined to connect for them. And now for the twist that complicates even the theory, which brings in a wrinkle from the leak-adjacent side of the community. Some sources tracking the game's details have suggested, again from leaked or data-mined material rather than official confirmation, that Lucia removes the ankle monitor fairly early in the story, and that it does not function as a persistent gameplay constraint at all. In this reading, the monitor is pure narrative texture, a bit of early game characterization that gets shed within the opening stretch, rather than a mechanic you spend the game working around. So you have two competing unconfirmed theories bumping into each other. One camp insisting the monitor is a clever map gating mechanic, another camp insisting leaked material shows it's cosmetic and quickly discarded. Rockstar, serene and unhelpful as ever, has confirmed neither. The truly honest position tonight is that we know Lucia wears an ankle monitor, and we know precisely nothing, officially, about what it does. Anyone who tells you otherwise is picking a theory and dressing it as fact. For our HD universe continuity check, the ankle monitor debate is really a continuation of one of the franchise's oldest structural challenges. How do you stop the player from seeing the whole beautiful map on day one? Rockstar has wrestled with this since the beginning. The 3D Universe games famously walled off districts behind closed bridges. Liberty City, Vice City and San Andreas all did it, and players groaned about it even then, because the bridge is closed is a transparently artificial excuse. Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 got a little more graceful about it, but the fundamental tension never went away. Designers want to control your early access to keep the world from feeling overwhelming and to preserve a sense of progression, but every artificial barrier risks breaking immersion. The ankle monitor theory is so beloved precisely because it would represent the franchise finally solving that decades-old problem elegantly, replacing the immersion-shattering closed bridge with a barrier that emerges organically from the protagonist's own confirmed circumstances. Whether or not Rockstar actually implemented it that way, the theory's popularity tells you how much fans crave a world-gating solution that doesn't insult their intelligence. Our community discovery flows right out of that, because the monitor has become a kind of Rorschach test for how people think about Lucia herself. Notice the through line. Her father taught her to fight from birth, she went to prison protecting her family, she got out by sheer luck, and now she's tagged like tracked wildlife, and her confirmed response to all of it is to declare she's going to be smarter, meaning better at crime, not done with it. Fans have seized on the ankle monitor as the visual crystallization of that defiance. Here's a woman the state has literally chained to a radius, and her whole confirmed arc is refusing to be contained. The dominant read on the character forums isn't really about the mechanic at all, it's thematic. The monitor represents everything trying to keep Lucia small, and Lucia's entire established personality is the refusal to stay small. Whether she hacks it off in the first hour or works around it for 10, the symbolism lands the same way. She is a person who does not accept the boundaries drawn around her. Some fans have even speculated, without any confirmation, that the act of removing the monitor might be an early narrative milestone, a symbolic first crime of her new, smart era. The moment she chooses the path, the rest of the game follows. Pure theory. But thematically, it sings. So where does that leave our file on the ankle monitor? Confirmed. Lucia wears one. It fits her confirmed post-prison status, and it's one of the most striking pieces of character design in the marketing. Unconfirmed. Whether it does anything mechanically, whether it gates the map, whether she removes it early, and whether that removal carries story weight, is the purest example in this whole chronicle of Rockstar's favourite trick. Show the audience something loaded and let them argue about it for a year and a half, and argue they have. But Lucia's monitor is only meaningful because of where it's trying to keep her from going. The whole point of a leash is the territory beyond it, and the territory beyond it, the state of Leonida, Vice City and the keys and the swamps between them, is a character in its own right, one that shapes Jason and Lucia as much as their bios do. How the geography splits and defines this couple is the next file. The territory beyond that leash, the state of Leonida, isn't just scenery for Jason and Lucia to commit crimes against. It's the third character in this partnership, and Rockstar has confirmed enough of its geography that we can see exactly how it splits the couple into complementary halves. Because here's something subtle the trailers and bios do together. They anchor each protagonist to a different piece of the map, giving them not just different personalities but different home turf, different competencies, different relationships with the land itself. Jason is a creature of the water, Lucia is a creature of the city, and Leonida is big enough to contain both of them without either one feeling out of place. Let's establish the confirmed geography, because this is where a lot of coverage goes off the rails into leaked territory, and I want to keep us clean. Rockstar has officially confirmed that the game is set in the state of Leonida, their fictional reimagining of Florida, with Vice City, a modern take on Miami, as its urban centerpiece. Crucially, and Rockstar has been deliberate about this framing, Vice City is not the whole map. It's one major piece inside a much larger state. Across the two trailers and an official screenshot release, Rockstar has put names to 6 distinct regions: Vice City itself, the Leonida Keys, Grass Rivers, Mount Caliga, Port Gellhorn, and Ambrosia. Those 6 are the confirmed skeleton of the world. Everything beyond that list, exact map size, additional towns, whether other locations return, falls into unconfirmed or leaked territory, and we'll treat it as such. Now watch how the geography maps onto the couple, because this is our HD universe continuity check, and our character analysis fused into one. Lucia operates primarily in Vice City's urban fabric, the social networks, the metropolitan hustle, the dense human ecosystem of a modern Miami stand-in. That fits her confirmed profile perfectly. She's the ambitious one, the one chasing her mother's dream of the good life, and the good life is a city dream. It's high-rises and nightlife in the sense that money is moving somewhere nearby if you're clever enough to get in its path. Vice City is where sophisticated crime lives, and Lucia's whole resolution was to graduate to sophisticated crime. The city is her natural habitat. Jason, by contrast, is anchored in the Leonida Keys, the island chain at the state's southern tip modelled on the real Florida Keys, all turquoise water and long highway bridges and boats. His confirmed competencies are maritime: navigation, coastal smuggling, moving product below the law's sightline. Remember that showcase shot of him tearing across the water in a fast boat? That's his element. He's the guy who knows the channels and the tides and which marina won't ask questions. So the couple is geographically complementary in a way that's genuinely elegant. Lucia brings the urban, metropolitan half, the social infiltration, the city smarts, the connections. Jason brings the maritime coastal half, the smuggling routes, the water expertise, the ability to disappear into an archipelago. Together they cover both faces of Leonida, the neon and the saltwater, and Rockstar has structured their confirmed backgrounds so that neither one is redundant. This is a huge part of why the dual protagonist system feels justified rather than arbitrary. It's not just, here are 2 people you can play. It's here are 2 people whose combined reach covers the whole map, because one owns the city and the other owns the sea. The switch between them, in theory, could also be a switch between 2 entire modes of existing in Leonida. Let's do a quick tour of the confirmed regions, because they establish just how tonally varied this world is, and variety is itself a form of storytelling. Vice City is the Art Deco heart. Beaches, high-rises, nightlife. The glamour and grime contrast that drives the whole Bonnie-and-Clyde aesthetic. The Leonida Keys are the laid-back resort and reef counterpoint, all coastal driving and island living, deliberately relaxed against the city's intensity. Grass Rivers is the one that genuinely breaks new ground for the franchise. It's Rockstar's Everglades, a vast subtropical wetland of swamps, marshes, cypress forests and slow rivers, confirmed to feature wildlife including alligators. That's the most unusual biome the series has ever built, a place of hunting and fishing and the kind of remote off-grid menace where bodies disappear and eccentrics hide from the world. Then there's Mount Caliga, pointing toward higher, wilder country, Port Gellhorn, suggesting industrial and working-class Leonida, and Ambrosia, filling out the state's variety. The confirmed picture is a world that can shift from neon nightlife to alligator-infested swamp to industrial port without ever leaving its own borders, the sunniest place in America and its darkest corners, all in one continuous map. Our core trailer fact for this file is the water itself, because it's confirmed all over the trailers and it reshapes how the game will play. The trailers show an extensive network of canals, bays, coastal water and island chains, which is precisely why boats look far more central to getting around Leonida than in any previous Grand Theft Auto. In Los Santos, water was mostly the stuff you accidentally drove into. In Leonida, the water is infrastructure. It's how Jason does his job. It's how you'd move between the keys. It's the reason his Fastboat Showcase shot carries so much weight. Rockstar is telling you that traversal here isn't just cars and helicopters, it's hulls and wakes, and the particular freedom of open water. For a couple where one half is explicitly a maritime smuggler, that confirmed emphasis on boats isn't incidental. It's the geography reinforcing the character. Now, our community discovery. And this is where the mapping fandom's obsessiveness deserves genuine respect. Because they built something remarkable. Beyond Rockstar's 6 confirmed regions, the community has assembled a near-complete speculative map of Leonida through sheer collective effort, a project involving thousands of contributors cross-referencing trailer frames, leaked footage, and real-world Florida satellite imagery to triangulate locations. And out of that effort came one of the juiciest unconfirmed discoveries: license plates. Eagle-eyed fans spotted vehicle plates in the second trailer referencing Gloriana State, a name that isn't one of the 6 confirmed regions, and appears to reference a separate state, likely inspired by Georgia, bordering Leonida to the north. The theory that erupted is that Gloriana might be a future expansion, or a place referenced but not initially playable, or a hint at Rockstar's post-launch ambitions for growing the map over time. Let me be precise. Gloriana is not a confirmed playable region. It's a plate detail fans found and extrapolated from. But it's exactly the kind of thing that shows how the community reads this world, down to the letters on a background car, and how Rockstar seeds details for them to find. Similarly, the widely cited claim that the map is twice the size of GTA 5, with 700+ interiors, gets repeated as fact everywhere. But Rockstar has never put an official number on the map's size. Those figures are community estimates and leak-derived, not Rockstar confirmations. Treat the 6 named regions as solid ground and everything else as the fandom's impressively constructed scaffolding. So Leonida, as Rockstar has confirmed it, is a state built to hold 2 different people living 2 different lives that happen to share a bed. Lucia's city and Jason's sea, wrapped around each other with swamps and ports and mountains filling the space between. The geography isn't backdrop, it's characterization, dividing the couple's competencies and justifying the whole 2 protagonist structure by giving each of them a domain to own. But a domain is only worth owning until something goes wrong in it. And something does go wrong. The confirmed inciting incident, the easy score that breaks, the failed heist that flings Jason and Lucia out of their comfortable geographic halves and into a conspiracy that spans the entire state. That's the engine of the plot, and it's the next file. Something goes wrong, and everything Rockstar has confirmed about the plot of this game hangs on that single, deliberately vague phrase. Because here is the strange truth about Grand Theft Auto 6 as we sit here before its launch. We know these 2 people intimately, we know their state, we know their systems, and we know almost nothing about what actually happens to them. Rockstar has kept the story locked in a vault, and what little they've released is less a plot summary than a mood. Tonight we pull that thin file, and I'll be honest, it's thin on purpose. But the shape of it tells you exactly what kind of tragedy is coming. Here's the confirmed inciting incident, quoted almost directly from Rockstar's own official framing, because the wording matters. Jason and Lucia have always known the deck is stacked against them. But when an easy score goes wrong, they find themselves on the darkest side of the sunniest place in America, in the middle of a criminal conspiracy stretching across the state of Leonida, forced to rely on each other more than ever if they want to make it out alive. That's it. That's the confirmed skeleton. Read it carefully because every word is load-bearing. An easy score. Something that was supposed to be simple, routine, low risk. Goes wrong. The 2 most dangerous words in any heist story. And then the escalation isn't just, now they're in trouble. It's now they're inside a conspiracy that spans the entire state. A small crime metastasizing into something enormous. That's the engine. A botched job that pulls a thread, and the thread unravels a tapestry far larger than 2 small-time criminals ever meant to touch. Now, the easy score is widely understood, and frequently described in coverage, as a failed bank heist, and that framing is well supported by the trailers and the surrounding material. The picture that emerges is a robbery that was meant to be their step-up, their sophisticated crime, Lucia's graduation into the big leagues, Jason's payday toward that easy life. Instead, it detonates, and the fallout is what throws them onto what Rockstar calls a violent path toward their freedom. I want to be precise here, though, because this is exactly the kind of place where confident nonsense proliferates. Rockstar has not revealed the specifics of that heist, has not revealed who's involved, has not revealed how it fails, and has absolutely not revealed the ending. Who lives, who dies, who betrays whom, the mission structure, the final fate of the relationship, all of it is unconfirmed. If you see a video promising you the ending of GTA 6 or a detailed mission-by-mission breakdown, understand that the person is inventing it. Rockstar has given us a premise, not a plot. The premise is a stacked deck, a broken score and a state-sized conspiracy. Everything else is fog. But there's one confirmed figure who orbits this heist premise directly, and he's worth introducing here because he's almost certainly the doorway into the big score world, Raul Bautista. Rockstar's official bio describes Raul as a seasoned bank robber, a man defined by confidence, charm and cunning, who is always on the hunt for talent ready to take the risks that bring the biggest rewards. That's a heist recruiter if I've ever heard one, and Rockstar didn't stop at flattering him, they built a warning right into his description. Raul's recklessness, the bio says, raises the stakes with every score, and sooner or later his crew will have to double down or pull their chips from the table. Read that as the confirmed character detail it is. Raul is the man who escalates. He's the one who keeps pushing the crew toward bigger, more dangerous jobs, the type whose ambition is a liability waiting to collect. The strong, reasonable inference, and I'll flag it as inference, is that Raul is the mentor recruiter figure who draws Jason and Lucia into the major heist missions, the gravitational pull toward exactly the kind of easy score that goes catastrophically wrong. Our core trailer fact ties Raul to the aesthetic of the whole doomed enterprise. In the trailers and cover art, Raul is styled in a sharp, tailored white suit, kicking it, as fans put it, old-school Vice City style. And that's not just a costume note, it's a thematic flair. The white suit is pure classic crime movie glamour, the look of a man who intends to go out in style if he goes out at all. He appears on the official cover, art alongside Jason, Lucia, and Boobie Ike, which Rockstar's own composition tells you signals a major story role. When a studio puts you on the box, you matter. So Raul is confirmed as significant, confirmed as a bank robber, confirmed as the escalating risk taker, and everything points to him as the pipeline into the heist that breaks the couple's world open. For our HD universe continuity check, the one bad job spirals into something enormous structure, is Rockstar returning to its most reliable narrative machine. Think about Grand Theft Auto 4. Nico Bellic comes to Liberty City chasing a modest dream and gets pulled, job by job, into a widening gyre of debts, betrayals and violence far bigger than he bargained for. Think about the heist structure of Grand Theft Auto 5, where the crew's ambitions keep escalating until they're taking on jobs that put them in the crosshairs of federal agencies and worse. Rockstar loves the story where small-time people reach for one big score and discover, too late, that the big score is attached to forces they can't survive. GTA 6's confirmed premise, botched robbery, statewide conspiracy, is that machine running again, refined and pointed at a couple, instead of a lone man or a crew of convenience. The novelty isn't the escalation. The novelty is that this time, the two people getting swallowed by something larger than themselves love each other, which means the stakes aren't just survival, they're survival together, or not at all. Our community discovery is the whirlpool of theorizing that Rockstar's deliberate vagueness has created, because a vacuum this size doesn't stay empty. Media commentators and the theory forums have essentially outlined a few dominant arcs the game might follow, all unconfirmed, all reasonable extrapolations from the confirmed premise. There's the straightforward Bonnie-and-Clyde redux, a high-octane crime spree across Leonida riding the couple's chemistry to a fiery end. There's the revenge and redemption reading, a more emotionally layered story shaped by loss and the possibility of forgiveness. And there's the darkest and most beloved theory, the one that keeps the lore channels up at night, Undercover Gone Wrong, the possibility that one member of the couple is secretly connected to law enforcement, turning the whole romance into a ticking betrayal. That last one feeds directly into the conspiracy framing. If the score went wrong because someone inside wasn't who they claimed, the statewide conspiracy suddenly has a personal knife at its centre. I cannot stress enough that Rockstar has confirmed none of these arcs. They are the community filling Rockstar's deliberate silence with the shapes of every crime tragedy they've ever loved. But the fact that the confirmed premise can support all of them tells you how carefully Rockstar engineered that one vague loaded sentence. So the confirmed plot in full stripped of invention, a couple who know the odds are against them, an easy score that goes wrong, a conspiracy that spreads across the entire state, and two people forced to rely on each other to survive it, with Raul Bautista, confirmed bank robber and confirmed escalator, standing at the likely doorway to the whole disaster. That's the engine. Everything else is fog and theory. But the score doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens inside a web of relationships Jason and Lucia already have, and the thickest strand of that web runs through the keys to a rent-free house, a paranoid friend, and a smuggling kingpin who may be a father figure or maybe the man who sells them out. Brian Heder and the Keys network is the next file. That web of relationships in the Keys is where Jason's whole world lives, and at the centre of it sits a man Rockstar has drawn with more loving specificity than almost anyone outside the two leads, Brian Heder. If you want to understand the ground Jason stands on before the easy score blows it out from under him, you have to understand Brian, his landlord, his boss, his sort of father figure, and, according to a large and vocal chunk of the fandom, quite possibly the man who gets him killed. Tonight we pull the file on the old smuggler and the paranoid friend who complete Jason's coastal orbit. Start with the confirmed portrait, because Rockstar's bio for Brian is a small character study in itself. Brian Heder is a classic drug runner from what the bio calls the golden age of smuggling in the Keys. That phrasing does a lot of work. It places Brian as old guard, a veteran of an earlier, almost romanticised era of Florida crime, a man who was hauling product through these islands back when it was practically fashionable. He's got a great confirmed line in the trailer too, the kind of thing that tells you everything about his self-mythology. He brags that he hauled so much grass in his plane, he could make the state of Leonida levitate. That's not a man ashamed of his past. That's a man who's turned his criminal history into folklore he tells over drinks. And these days, per the bio, Brian has aged into the smart position. He's been around long enough to let others do his dirty work. He runs his operation out of his boatyard, moves product with the help of his third wife Laurie, and delegates the dangerous street-level tasks to younger, more expendable hands. One of those hands is Jason. Here's the confirmed arrangement, and it's the domestic foundation of Jason's entire situation. Brian lets Jason live rent-free at one of his properties in the Keys, on the condition that Jason helps with local shakedowns and extortion, and stops by now and then for Laurie's sangria. So Brian isn't just a boss, he's woven into the fabric of Jason's daily life. Free housing, dirty work, homemade sangria with the boss's wife. It's cosy and crooked in equal measure, the kind of arrangement that feels like family right up until it doesn't. And Rockstar planted a detail suggesting Brian's affection might be real. Coverage of the bios has noted that Brian seems to genuinely care about Jason, potentially seeing his own younger self in the wayward veteran. An old crook looking at a young crook and recognising the reflection. That's either touching or ominous, depending on how much you trust anyone in this universe. Our core trailer fact is the moment that turned Brian from supporting character into prime suspect in the community's eyes. In the second trailer, Brian delivers a line to Jason, a curt instruction to go collect, to get him his checks. Standard boss stuff. But here's the editing that lit the fuse. Shortly after Brian tells Jason his personal information has fallen into the wrong hands, the trailer cuts to police officers. That juxtaposition, Brian mentioning Jason's info being compromised, immediately followed by a flash of law enforcement, is confirmed to be in the trailer, and the community read it instantly as a plant. The implication a lot of fans drew is that Brian's operation, or Brian himself, is the leak. That Jason's cosy, rent-free arrangement is precisely the thread that connects him to the cops closing in. Whether that's Rockstar telegraphing a betrayal or just building atmosphere, the cut is real and the placement is deliberate, and Rockstar knew exactly what they were doing by sequencing those images that way. Now let's bring in the third member of the Keys orbit, because he's a delight and he completes the picture. Cal Hampton. Rockstar's bio paints Cal as Jason's paranoid best friend and a fellow associate of Brian's, the kind of casual conspiracy theorist in the bio's affectionate framing that America is particularly good at producing. Cal feels safest hanging at home, snooping on Coast Guard communications with, and I love this exact phrasing, a few beers and some private browser tabs open. He's described as being at the low tide of America and happy there. The man doesn't trust the Coast Guard, and per the character notes he's skeptical about the existence of birds. Genuinely, the birds aren't real. Flavour of paranoid. Content with a beer and a pool cue or a mini golf club. Cal is comic relief, absolutely. But Rockstar gave him a functional edge too. A guy who monitors law enforcement communications and lives in a permanent state of suspicion is exactly the kind of asset a criminal couple might need when the state comes looking. His paranoia, played for laughs, doubles as a plausible intel pipeline. In a trailer clip, Cal even shows up in a soiled t-shirt bearing the logo of Brian's boatyard, crudely asking Jason for some wingman help, which both ties him to Brian's operation and establishes him as the friend who's perpetually one favour and one beer deep. For our HD Universe continuity check, Brian Heder occupies a role Rockstar has written before and written beautifully. The aging mentor criminal whose relationship with the young protagonist is the emotional spine of the early story. The comparison the community reaches for constantly, and it's a good one, is Hosea Matthews from Red Dead Redemption 2. The wise old outlaw who served as a father figure to Arthur Morgan, a voice of experience and restraint in a gang hurtling toward its doom. Brian fits that mould. The veteran who's survived long enough to get comfortable, who takes the young man under his wing, who represents the old ways of the criminal life. But here's the thing about Rockstar mentors. They rarely make it to the credits, and their relationships with the protagonist are engines of tragedy, as often as loyalty. So, the Hosea comparison cuts both ways. It could mean Brian's a beloved ally Jason clashes with but ultimately trusts. It could mean Brian's the setup for a devastating loss. Rockstar has trained us through their own history to brace for the latter, which brings us squarely to our community discovery, because Brian Heder is the subject of one of the most spirited unresolved debates in the entire GTA 6 theory space. The forums are genuinely split into camps. One camp is convinced Brian is a hidden antagonist, the mastermind, the man whose operation and network make him the true power behind the chaos, possibly even the figure who orchestrated events to manipulate Jason, with some of the wilder threads speculating he influenced Lucia's convenient release from prison. The evidence they cite is circumstantial but seductive. He's powerful, he's connected, he benefits from the disorder, and there's that damning trailer cut linking him to compromised information and police. The other camp pushes back hard, arguing Brian reads much more like a genuine ally Jason will have friction with. A father figure with rough edges, not a villain. As one fan on the theory boards put it, they don't get why everyone's convinced he'll turn when he comes across more as someone who'll be on Jason's side even through conflict. Rockstar, characteristically, has confirmed nothing. Brian's true role is completely unrevealed. He is a magnificently constructed question mark. Enough warmth to make you trust him, enough shadow to make you wonder if that trust is the trap. So that's Jason's world before the fall. A rent-free house he pays for in muscle, a golden age smuggler who might love him or might sell him, a paranoid best friend spying on the Coast Guard for fun, and sangria with Laurie on quiet afternoons. It's the calm, crooked domesticity that the easy score disaster is going to rip apart. But Jason's orbit is only one half of the couple's social map. Cross the water back to Vice City, and Lucia's world glitters with a different kind of crime entirely. Real estate empires, strip clubs, and a record label chasing its first hit. Boobie Ike, Dre'Quan Priest, and the rest of the city's ambitious hustlers are the next file. Cross the water back to Vice City, and the crime gets a different texture entirely. Out in the Keys, it's boats and shakedowns and old smugglers reminiscing about the good old days. In the city, it's business cards and recording booths and men in nice suits who've figured out that the smartest way to launder a criminal past is to become a legitimate mogul. This is the glittering, ambitious half of the couple's social map, the Vice City Empire, and it's populated by characters whose entire deal is the same dream Lucia is chasing. The transformation from street hustle into the good life. Tonight we pull the files on the city's players. Start with the man Rockstar clearly considers a heavyweight because they put him on the cover, Boobie Ike. His confirmed bio describes him as a local Vice City legend, one of the few, in Rockstar's phrasing, to transform his time in the streets into a legitimate empire. And what an empire. Boobie owns real estate. He owns a strip club, the Jack of Hearts, per the details Rockstar has released. And he owns a recording studio, part of a music venture called Only Raw Records. He is, in other words, the fully realised version of the fantasy every GTA protagonist chases, the criminal who made it out clean, who converted the hustle into holdings, who owns things now instead of just stealing them. Rockstar gave him a signature characterization that they've emphasized repeatedly, and it's a great one. Boobie is all smiles until it's time to talk business. That's the whole man in 8 words. Warm, charming, legendary, right up until money enters the conversation, at which point the temperature drops. He appears on the official cover art alongside Jason, Lucia and Raul, which, as we established, is Rockstar's way of telling you he's a major story presence, not a bit player. But here's the confirmed wrinkle that makes Boobie interesting rather than just successful. For all his diversified empire, the thing he's most invested in, per his bio, is his partnership with a younger, hungrier man, Dre'Quan Priest, and their shared dream for Only Raw Records. And the two of them, the bio says with a lovely bit of deadpan, now just need a hit. That's the confirmed dramatic engine of the whole music thread. Here's a made man, a legend, and his actual obsession isn't the real estate or the strip club, it's making his record label produce a genuine chart topper. It humanizes him. The tycoon has a passion project, and the passion project is desperate for a win, which brings us to Dre'Quan Priest, the partner. Rockstar's bio frames him as always more of a hustler than a gangster, a crucial distinction. Even back when Dre'Quan was dealing on the streets to make ends meet, the confirmed detail is that breaking into music was always the real goal. The drugs were the means, the music was the dream. He's the aspiring young music mogul to Boobie's established legend, and together they run Only Raw Records, chasing that elusive first hit. Dre'Quan represents the next generation of the exact same transformation Boobie already completed, a man trying to hustle his way from the corner into the mainstream, from survival into legitimacy. If Boobie is the dream achieved, Dre'Quan is the dream in progress, and the vehicle for that dream, the act they're betting on, is the group Rockstar calls Real Dimez. This is a pair of characters, Baylux and Roxy, confirmed as a female rap duo signed to Only Raw Records. Their bio paints them as viral rappers with sharp lyrics and a dominating social media presence. Women who understand that in the modern Leonida of influencer culture and viral phone clips, the path to a hit runs through the algorithm as much as the airwaves. After an early hit and some time in the wilderness, they've signed with Only Raw hoping for a major comeback. They're the confirmed embodiment of GTA 6's satirical eye on contemporary culture, the social media-saturated, clout-chasing modern America that Rockstar has said is central to the game's tone. Where the keys represent old-school crime, Real Dimez represent the brand-new hustle, where fame is currency and virality is power. Our core trailer fact for this file is the way Rockstar has visually and tonally established Vice City itself as the stage for all this ambition. The confirmed Art Deco beachfronts, the neon nightlife, the dense downtown skyline, the waterfront luxury. This is the glamour half of the game's glamour and grime equation, and it's no accident that the music and money characters live here. Vice City is where the good life is visible, tantalizingly close, glittering just out of reach, which is exactly why it's Lucia's natural habitat. She walked out of prison wanting her mother's dream of the good life, and the good life has an address, and the address is Vice City, where men like Boobie have already proven the transformation is possible. The city is a promise. These characters are the proof the promise can be kept, and this being a Rockstar tragedy, probably also the proof of what it costs. For our HD universe continuity check, the legitimate businessman with a criminal past archetype is deep franchise DNA, and Boobie Ike is its latest and slickest iteration. Cast your mind back through the series, and you'll find this figure everywhere. The crime boss who's gone corporate, who launders influence through nightclubs and real estate and entertainment ventures. It rhymes with the empire building of characters across the HD universe, and it echoes the way Grand Theft Auto has always been fascinated by the thin, permeable membrane between organised crime and legitimate American business. The strip club and record label combination in particular is pure Vice City lineage. This is a city that has always run on the collision of nightlife, money and menace, going back to its very first appearance. Boobie's empire is Rockstar reaffirming what Vice City fundamentally is, a place where the line between mogul and gangster was always a polite fiction. The continuity here isn't a single callback, it's the entire thematic identity of the setting, carried forward and modernised. Our community discovery leans into the real-world satire, because the fandom cracked the code on Real Dimez almost immediately, and had a field day with it. The community widely reads the duo Baylux and Roxy as a clear nod to a real-life Miami female rap group, a viral, social media-dominant pair from the actual Vice City equivalent music scene. Fans connected the dots through the collective's whole vibe: the viral presence, the sharp lyrics, the Miami rap duo framing. It's exactly the kind of contemporary cultural reference Rockstar loves to bury in plain sight, letting the audience feel clever for spotting it. And beyond the specific reference, the theory forums have speculated, unconfirmed, naturally, about how the music industry thread will actually intersect with Jason and Lucia's story. Some fans wonder whether the Only Raw Records plot is a fully separate side narrative. Others whether Boobie's empire becomes entangled with the central conspiracy, whether the desperate hunt for a hit leads Dre'Quan or Boobie into dangerous alliances the couple gets caught in. Rockstar has confirmed the characters and their relationships, but not how those relationships weave into the main plot. So the city's ambitious hustlers remain confirmed presences with unconfirmed destinies, glittering pieces on the board whose moves we haven't been shown. So there's the two halves of the couple's world laid side by side. Jason's keys, boats, smugglers, paranoid friends, old-school crime aging in the sun, Lucia's Vice City, moguls, record labels, viral rappers, new-school ambition chasing the good life. Together they form the complete social map of Leonida, the overlapping circles of relationships that the Easy Score disaster will send shockwaves through. But to understand how we came to know any of these people, how a franchise managed to reveal this much while showing so little, we have to go back to the very beginning of the public GTA 6 story, not the second trailer. The first one, back in December 2023, and the extraordinary chaotic leak that preceded it. That's the next file. To understand how we came to know any of these people, you have to rewind past the second trailer, past the character bios, all the way back to a chaotic September night in 2022, because the public story of Grand Theft Auto 6 didn't begin with a Rockstar announcement. It began with a crime, a real one. And the way this game entered the world's awareness, through breach and leak before Rockstar ever chose to speak, shaped the entire strange dynamic of confirmed versus rumoured that we've been navigating this whole chronicle. Tonight we go back to the origin, the leak, the first trailer, and the mapping army that turned trailer watching into forensic science. Let's establish the confirmed history of the leak, because it's genuinely one of the wildest events in video game history. On the 18th of September 2022, a user going by the handle TipoTuberHacker published around 90 videos to an online forum, roughly 50 minutes of work-in-progress footage from Grand Theft Auto 6's development. This wasn't a blurry photo or a vague rumour. This was real, extensive gameplay footage from an unfinished build pulled, the hacker claimed, directly from Rockstar's internal systems. The footage was confirmed genuine. The journalist Jason Schreier verified it with sources at Rockstar, and reporting indicated it came from several stages of development, some of it about a year old at the time. What did it reveal? A modern-day Vice City setting, animation and gameplay tests, level layouts, character conversations, and critically, it depicted the two-player characters, Lucia and Jason, years before Rockstar would officially confirm their names, showing them doing things like entering a strip club and robbing a diner. The same hacker claimed responsibility for a security breach at a major rideshare company the prior week, and threatened to release source code and internal builds. Rockstar's parent company responded with takedown notices, scrambling to pull the footage from every corner of the internet. Think about what that meant for Rockstar. The most anticipated game in the industry had its curtain torn down by force, its secrets scattered across forums, its unfinished work exposed to millions before a single frame was ready for public eyes. It's a nightmare scenario for any studio, and it's the reason so much GTA 6 information that circulates today traces back not to Rockstar's careful reveals, but to that raw, unpolished, out-of-context leak. This is the deep source of our confirmed versus unconfirmed problem. A huge amount of what people repeat as fact about GTA 6, specific mechanics, the 3-mode character wheel, special abilities, particular missions, comes from that 2022 footage of an unfinished game that may have changed enormously before release. The leak is why responsible investigation on this topic requires constant vigilance. Genuine footage and reliable confirmation are not the same thing, and the leak blurred that line for an entire fandom. Now to the official beginning, our core trailer fact, because Rockstar's actual first move came over a year later. On December 5th, 2023, technically a day early, pushed up in response to yet another leak of the trailer itself, Rockstar released the first official Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. This is the one that made history for its viewership, breaking records, becoming one of the most watched debuts the internet had ever hosted. And what did it confirm? The title, the setting, a return to Vice City and the state of Leonida. The leads, including the world's first proper look at the woman who'd become Lucia, glimpsed in scenes that immediately marked her as the franchise's first female protagonist, and an original release window of 2025, which, as we now know from the confirmed final date of November 19th, 2026, would end up slipping. That first trailer was Rockstar reclaiming the narrative, taking back control of a story that had been ripped from their hands by a hacker 15 months earlier. It was the studio finally getting to introduce, on their own terms, the game the world had already glimpsed in stolen fragments. For our HD universe continuity check, the first trailer's confirmation of a modern Vice City is itself a profound act of franchise continuity, and one worth being precise about. Vice City last appeared as a playable setting back in 2002's Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which was set in a neon-drenched 1986. But, and this is the continuity detail that matters, that classic Vice City belongs to what fans call the 3D universe, an entirely separate continuity from the modern games. GTA 6's Vice City belongs to the HD universe, the continuity that includes Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5. So this is not the Vice City you remember from Tommy Vercetti's Hawaiian-shirted Rampage. It's a fresh, present-day reimagining that shares only a name and a geography with the 1986 version. That distinction is why Lucia's confirmed Liberty City roots matter so much. Liberty City in the HD universe is Nico Bellic's melancholy New York from GTA 4, which means Lucia's family history threads her directly into the modern continuity's established world. The first trailer's return to Vice City wasn't nostalgia for an old game, it was the HD universe finally claiming the franchise's most iconic city as its own. Which brings us to our community discovery, and it's the most impressive collective achievement in this entire chronicle, because the fandom's response to both the leak and the trailers was to build something genuinely remarkable. Faced with a data-starved wait and a trickle of official material, the GTA 6 mapping community organised itself into what can only be described as an amateur intelligence operation. We're talking about a coordinated research project involving tens of thousands of contributors. The mapping Discord alone reportedly gathered over 16,000 members, working to reconstruct the map of Leonida from fragments. Their methods were legitimately forensic. They analysed thousands of individual frames from the first trailer, reportedly poring over more than 2,000 frames of Trailer 1 alone, and later every frame of Trailer 2 in 4K resolution, identifying road signs, buildings, and skylines. They cross-referenced in-game locations against real-world satellite imagery of Miami and the Florida Keys. They even, according to community accounts, extracted spatial coordinate data embedded in the leaked 2022 footage to triangulate distances and overlay landmarks. The result is a speculative fan map that the community considers strikingly close to complete, an entire state reconstructed through obsessive collective effort before Rockstar has officially shown most of it. I want to be careful here, because that mapping achievement is exactly the kind of thing that gets its findings laundered into confirmed status through the sheer authority of how thorough it looks. The fan map is impressive. It is also, by definition, unconfirmed, a reconstruction from trailers, leaks, and satellite comparison, not a Rockstar-published map. When the community says the map is 95 to 98% accurate, that's a confident self-assessment, not a Rockstar verification. The distinction matters. What the mapping community proves beyond doubt is the intensity of devotion this game commands. The willingness of thousands of strangers to turn trailer analysis into a coordinated science. What it does not do is replace official confirmation. Both things are true at once. The fan effort is genuinely astonishing, and it remains scaffolding rather than gospel. So that's the origin story of everything we know, a hacker who tore the curtain down in 2022. a first trailer in December 2023 that let Rockstar reclaim its own story and confirmed the return to a modern, HD universe Vice City, and a mapping community that responded to the information drought by building an intelligence agency out of pure fandom. It's a strange, chaotic history for a game, born in breach, revealed in fragments, reconstructed by obsessives. And it's the reason this whole chronicle has had to work so hard to separate the confirmed from the merely circulated. But the leak and the trailers didn't just give us a map and two faces, they gave us threads reaching back through the entire franchise, Liberty City connections, protagonist echoes, the long lineage this couple descends from. How Jason and Lucia fit into the larger tapestry of the HD universe is the next file. Those threads reaching back through the franchise are worth following carefully, because Jason and Lucia didn't arrive as blank slates. They descend from a specific lineage, and Rockstar has woven enough confirmed connective tissue to place them firmly inside the larger tapestry of the HD universe. Tonight we do the continuity deep dive, the confirmed links, the protagonist echoes, and the way this couple both continues and breaks from everything the franchise built before them. For the lore investigators in the audience, this is the file where the whole family tree comes into focus. Let's start with the single most confirmed continuity thread, because it's load-bearing, and Rockstar put it right in Lucia's official bio, Liberty City. Lucia's family came from Liberty City before settling in Leonida, and her mother has dreamed of the good life since their days there. Now, in the HD universe, the continuity that includes Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5, Liberty City is Rockstar's version of New York, most famously the setting of GTA 4, where Niko Bellic waged his melancholy war against the American dream in 2008. So Lucia isn't just a Florida girl. She's a daughter of the franchise's grimmest, most emotionally serious city, carrying her family's northern city hunger down into the southern heat. This matters enormously for placing the game in continuity. It confirms, explicitly, that GTA 6 exists in the same world as GTA 4, that Niko's Liberty City and Lucia's Vice City are 2 points on the same map of the same fictional America. The connection isn't a cameo or an Easter egg, it's baked into a protagonist's origin. Lucia is, in a sense, what happened to a Liberty City family that went looking for something better and found Leonida instead. Our core trailer fact reinforces the modern-day HD universe placement. The confirmed setting is a present-day Vice City, not the 1986 version, and the confirmed timeline detail that Rockstar and the surrounding material establish is that GTA 6 takes place after the events of Grand Theft Auto 5, so we're not just in the same universe as the modern games, we're forward of them on the timeline, in the most contemporary version of this fictional America yet, complete with the confirmed satirical texture of influencer culture, viral phone clips, and social media saturation that we discussed with Real Dimez. This is the HD universe's present tense. Everything that happened to Michael, Franklin, and Trevor in Los Santos has presumably already happened somewhere off to the west. Jason and Lucia's story unfolds in the aftermath of that world, in its own corner of the same country. Now the protagonist lineage, our HD universe continuity check proper, because this is where you really feel how far Rockstar has travelled. Line them up. Claude in Grand Theft Auto 3, silent, blank, a pure instrument of the player's will, no interior life offered. Tommy Vercetti in the original Vice City, a loud, confident power fantasy, a man conquering a city in a pastel suit. Carl Johnson in San Andreas, solo but weighted with family and gang loyalty, the first real emotional stakes. Niko Bellic in GTA 4, a single melancholic lens, the immigrant's disillusionment rendered with genuine literary weight. And then GTA 5's great experiment. 3 protagonists, Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, using the split to generate tonal contrast. Satire, tragedy, and pure chaos playing off each other. Each entry was Rockstar refining its relationship with the idea of who you play and how much you feel about them. Jason and Lucia are the next step in that evolution, and it's a bold one. They take the 3-way split of GTA 5 and collapse it into a 2-way bond, betting that a couple sharing one story will generate more emotional depth than a trio living 3. It's the franchise moving from breadth toward intimacy, from here are 3 lives to sample toward here are 2 lives you cannot separate. The community's favourite comparison for Lucia specifically pulls from Rockstar's other crown jewel, And it's a good lens, even though it's a fan reading rather than a Rockstar statement. Sadie Adler from Red Dead Redemption 2. The parallels are strong enough that the fandom treats Lucia as almost a spiritual successor. Both are female outlaws, both are companions to a male lead, both are lethally proficient with firearms, both are hardened by loss into something formidable. If Rockstar wanted to prove they could build a compelling, tough, fully realised woman at the centre of a crime story, Sadie was the proof of concept, and Lucia is arguably the mainline GTA graduation of that project. Again, this is community analysis, not confirmed intent, but it's insightful analysis, and it illuminates what Rockstar is likely reaching for with Lucia. Not a novelty, not a checkbox, but a character with the same depth and menace the studio has already proven it can write. There's an even deeper cut the lore historians reach for, and it's a lovely one. Catalina. Back in the older 3D universe continuity, Catalina was a volatile, dangerous woman, a girlfriend turned criminal, herself explicitly framed as a Bonnie-and-Clyde style figure alongside the protagonist of one game before becoming a memorable antagonist in another. The community's argument is that Rockstar has circled the criminal woman as Bonnie-and-Clyde partner archetype for decades, using it in supporting and antagonist roles, and that Lucia represents them finally handing that archetype the full protagonist treatment she was always orbiting. Now, Catalina belongs to the separate 3D universe, so this isn't a direct continuity link the way Liberty City is. It's a thematic and archetypal echo, a recurring Rockstar fascination finally reaching its fullest expression. I flag that distinction because it matters. Liberty City is confirmed continuity, Catalina is thematic resonance. Both are real, but they're different kinds of real. Our community discovery is the one continuity question the fandom cannot stop asking, and the honest answer is a firm, unconfirmed. Will characters from Grand Theft Auto 5 appear? Because if GTA 6 is set after GTA 5 in the same universe, then Michael, Franklin and Trevor are, in theory, still out there somewhere in this fictional America. The theory forums have spun this in every direction. Cameos, references, radio mentions, full appearances, the return of beloved side characters. And here is where I have to be the responsible investigator once more. Rockstar has confirmed no returning characters from GTA 5 or earlier. Not one. Every leaked cameo list and confirmed returning character headline you've seen is speculation or leak-derived, not official. The shared universe makes such returns possible, even plausible, given Rockstar's fondness for connective tissue, but possible is not confirmed. The confirmed continuity is Lucia's Liberty City roots and the post-GTA 5 HD universe timeline. Everything about who might show up from the old games is fan hope draped over a genuine structural opening. There's one more thread worth naming because it shows how deep the continuity hunting goes. Fans spotted in the second trailer license plates referencing Gloriana State, that Georgia-inspired region we touched on in the geography file. And some have woven it into continuity theories about how Leonida connects to the broader map of Rockstar's America. Combined with the confirmed Liberty City link, the community has essentially been assembling a unified geography of the HD universe, trying to place Leonida, Liberty City, Los Santos, and the rumoured Gloriana into one coherent national map. It's ambitious, it's mostly unconfirmed, and it's exactly the kind of obsessive world stitching this fandom excels at. What's confirmed remains narrow, a modern Vice City in the state of Leonida after GTA 5, in the same universe as GTA 4's Liberty City, with a protagonist whose family came from that very city. That's the solid continuity. The rest is the fandom drawing lines between stars. So Jason and Lucia take their place in the lineage, descendants of Claude's silence, Tommy's swagger, CJ's loyalty, Nico's melancholy, and the great three-way experiment of GTA 5. A couple who collapse all that history into a single shared fate, rooted by confirmed blood to the franchise's grimmest city. But a lineage and a setting still leave the biggest question of any crime story unanswered. Who's the enemy? Who stacked the deck? The conspiracy has a shape, and somewhere inside it is a villain Rockstar hasn't named. A gap the community has filled with corrupt cops, federal shadows, and betrayals waiting to happen. The antagonist question is the next file. Who stacked the deck? That's the question this whole doomed romance orbits, and it's the one place where Rockstar's silence is loudest. because as we sit here before launch, Rockstar has not officially named a single antagonist for Grand Theft Auto 6. Not one. The confirmed premise gives us a conspiracy stretching across the state of Leonida, but the face behind that conspiracy remains completely unrevealed. And nature, as we've learned repeatedly in this chronicle, abhors a vacuum, so the community has rushed to fill the villain-shaped hole with an entire rogues gallery of theories. Tonight we pull the file on the enemy, and I want to be exceptionally clear about the confirmed versus speculation line here, because this is the section where the internet does its most confident guessing about things Rockstar has said absolutely nothing about. Let's start with the confirmed foundation, thin as it is. Rockstar's official framing tells us the couple ends up in the middle of a criminal conspiracy stretching across the state. That's the antagonistic force in the abstract. A conspiracy, something large, coordinated and statewide. But a conspiracy isn't a character. Rockstar has given us the shadow without the man casting it. There's no named big bad, no confirmed mastermind, no revealed final boss. What we have instead is a cast of confirmed characters, any of whom could plausibly turn, and a set of trailer images the community has interrogated relentlessly for clues. So everything from here forward is theory. Reasonable theory, well-argued theory, but theory. Keep that firmly in mind. Our core trailer fact is the visual that anchors the single most popular antagonist theory, the police. Specifically, there's an unnamed police detective figure glimpsed in the second trailer, and the community has largely coalesced around this corrupt cop figure as the most likely primary antagonist. The reasoning connects back to that damning edit we discussed in Brian Heder's file, the sequence where Brian mentions Jason's personal information falling into the wrong hands, immediately cut against images of law enforcement. Fans read that juxtaposition as Rockstar planting the idea that the threat comes wearing a badge, a corrupt cop, or a network of them, exploiting the couple, hunting them, or orchestrating the very conspiracy they're trapped inside. It's a theory with real thematic weight. Grand Theft Auto has always been fascinated by institutional corruption, by the idea that the people supposedly enforcing the law are frequently the most dangerous criminals in the room. But I need to state it plainly. The corrupt detective as primary antagonist is a fan theory. Rockstar has confirmed no antagonist, named or otherwise. The detective appears in the trailer. His role is entirely unconfirmed. This is where the franchise's own history feeds the fire, giving us our HD universe continuity check. Because the corrupt cop theory doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from Rockstar's deep, consistent obsession with dirty law enforcement. Think about it across the games. Grand Theft Auto 4 gave us Liberty City's crooked cops and the murky machinery of federal agencies. Grand Theft Auto 5 built entire story arcs around the FIB, the game's stand-in for the FBI, with agents manipulating the protagonists like puppets, using them for deniable dirty work, embodying the idea that the real criminals wear suits and carry federal credentials. San Andreas opened with corrupt cops framing CJ, and had the unforgettable Officer Tenpenny as one of the series' most memorable villains, a policeman who was pure predator. So when fans look at GTA 6's Glimpse Detective and its statewide conspiracy and immediately think corrupt law enforcement, they're not reaching. They're pattern matching against decades of Rockstar telling exactly this kind of story. The community has specifically wondered whether the corrupt cop syndicate teased in the trailer connects to the FIB, the same federal shadow that pulled the strings in GTA 5. That would be a direct continuity thread tying GTA 6's conspiracy to the HD universe's established web of institutional rot. It's a compelling idea. It's also, say it with me, unconfirmed. Rockstar has not linked the trailer's detective to the FIB or to anything else. Now let's run through the other suspects the community has put on the board, because the fandom hasn't stopped at cops. There's Brian Heder, whom we've already discussed at length, the Golden Age smuggler, the father figure, the man whose trailer scenes drip with the possibility of betrayal. A significant camp is convinced he's the hidden mastermind. There's Raul Bautista, the charismatic bank robber in the white suit whose confirmed bio explicitly warns of his escalating recklessness. Fans theorize he could turn on Jason and Lucia when the stakes peak, betraying the crew he assembled. His whole confirmed characterization, the man who keeps raising the stakes until someone has to pull their chips or double down, reads like a betrayal waiting to detonate. And then there's the darkest theory of all, the one that turns the knife inward. the possibility that Lucia herself is the twist antagonist. Some fans point to what they call her suspiciously sparse backstory, her role as the operations strategist, Rockstar's fondness for narrative surprises, and the vague possibility of her ties to the broader conspiracy as breadcrumbs suggesting she might not be who she appears. This connects to the undercover gone wrong arc we discussed earlier, the theory that one half of the couple is secretly connected to law enforcement, that the romance is built on a hidden betrayal that the story eventually exposes. I want to pump the brakes hard on that last cluster, because it's where speculation gets most seductive and most unfounded. There is zero confirmed evidence that Lucia is a secret antagonist or an undercover operative. She is confirmed unambiguously as a protagonist, one of the two people you play, presented straightforwardly as a criminal partner in a Bonnie-and-Clyde romance. The Lucia is the real villain theory is pure fan speculation built on the absence of information and Rockstar's history of twists, not on any actual confirmed detail. It's the kind of theory that thrives precisely because it can't be disproven yet, which is exactly why you should hold it at arm's length. A theory that survives only because we lack information isn't insight. It's a placeholder for our own suspense. Our community discovery, then, is really a meta-observation about the whole antagonist conversation, and it's the most important takeaway of this file. The single biggest driver of misinformation in the GTA 6 space is the confident antagonist claim. Because Rockstar left the villain unnamed, and because the human brain hates an unresolved mystery, the ecosystem around this game is flooded with videos and posts declaring, with total certainty, who the bad guy is. GTA 6's real villain confirmed. The true antagonist explained, and in nearly every case, they're taking one trailer frame, one ambiguous edit, one confirmed character's vibe, and inflating it into a certainty Rockstar never provided. The community itself has become quite good at policing this. The more rigorous corners of the fandom constantly remind each other that no antagonist is confirmed, that the corrupt cop is a theory, that Brian and Raul and the rest are suspects and not verdicts. That self-correction is the fandom at its best. The honest state of knowledge is beautifully, frustratingly simple. There is a conspiracy, it spans Leonida, and we do not know its face. And maybe that's exactly how Rockstar wants us walking in. Consider the craftsmanship of it. By confirming a conspiracy but naming no villain, by showing a detective but explaining nothing, by giving us a father figure and a reckless recruiter, and a partner with a sparse past, all of whom could plausibly turn, Rockstar has engineered maximum suspense with minimum information. Every character you've met carries a question mark. Every ally might be an enemy. You'll walk into this game genuinely not knowing who to trust, because the marketing itself refused to tell you. That's not an accident of an incomplete reveal. That's a deliberate act of storytelling restraint, a studio confident enough to let the audience stew in uncertainty for a year and a half. The stacked deck has a dealer somewhere in Leonida. Rockstar simply declined to show us his hands, so the enemy remains a shape in the fog, a conspiracy without a confirmed face, surrounded by a cloud of theories about corrupt cops and federal shadows, and betrayals waiting to happen, none of them confirmed, all of them plausible, feeding a fandom that has learned mostly to hold its own guesses loosely. Which brings us, at last, to the end of our investigation, to the confirmed date when all these questions get answered, the additions and the stakes, and the reckoning with just how enormous a gamble this two-person tragedy really is. The final file, and the slow fade into the Leonida night, is next. The confirmed date when all these questions finally get answered is November 19th, 2026, and after more than a decade of waiting, 13 years since Grand Theft Auto 5 first launched, that date has the weight of something almost mythical. So let's close our investigation where every question eventually resolves. At the launch itself, the confirmed facts of how this game arrives in the world, and a final reckoning with just how large a gamble Rockstar is making on two people and one relationship. This is the last file, investigators. Let's pull it, and then let the neon dim. Here are the confirmed launch facts, clean and verified. Grand Theft Auto 6 releases November 19th, 2026 on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Those consoles only at launch. No confirmed PC version. Rockstar has announced no PC release date, no PC pricing, no system requirements, and anyone claiming otherwise is speculating. A PC release is an expectation based on Rockstar's history, not a confirmed fact on the calendar. Pre-orders open June 25, 2026, alongside the reveal of the official box art. On the editions, the Standard Edition and an Ultimate Edition sit at the top of the tier list, with the Ultimate adding exclusive vehicles, including a classic grotty and a Dinka motorcycle, plus weapons, outfits, extra missions, and dedicated customization shops in Vice City. There's a launch window bonus pack for early buyers, and one detail worth flagging for the physical media romantics. The disc edition is reportedly a code in a box rather than a full game on the disc. Take-Two's leadership has publicly reaffirmed that November the 2026 date, which matters because this game has already slipped once, from an original 2025 window shown in the first trailer, delayed with a public apology from Rockstar citing the need for more time to hit the quality bar they expect of themselves. Our final core trailer fact is really the confirmation of scale that the second trailer delivered. When that May 2025 trailer dropped, it didn't just show a vibe. It locked in the world, the tone, and the two people at the centre, and it did so to a response that shattered records, drawing tens of millions of views in its first day alone. That reception is itself a confirmed fact about this game's place in culture. Industry analysts have projected launch figures that sound less like a video game release and more like a national economic event. First-day sales measured in the billions, first-year earnings projected to potentially double the record-setting launch of Grand Theft Auto V. Publishers across the industry have reportedly rescheduled their own games to avoid colliding with it. This is the most anticipated entertainment product of its generation, and every confirmed number around it reinforces that. Jason and Lucia aren't just launching a game, they're launching what may be the single largest commercial event in the history of the medium. For our closing HD Universe continuity check, step back and see the full arc of what Rockstar has done to the idea of the protagonist across this franchise. Silent Claude became swaggering, Tommy became loyal, CJ became melancholy, Nico became the three-way experiment of Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, and now becomes a couple, two people whose fates are welded together, sharing money and hideouts and heat, and a single doomed story told from two sides. That progression is the whole history of the series learning to make you feel more, with fewer, more deeply drawn people. And GTA 6 represents the boldest bet in that entire lineage. Because here is the genuine risk Rockstar has taken, the thing worth appreciating as we close. By collapsing to two protagonists bound by love, they've removed every safety net. In GTA 5, if you didn't connect with one of the three, you had two others. Here, if the relationship between Jason and Lucia doesn't land, if their partnership doesn't feel real, if the tonal consistency between his half and hers ever cracks, the entire emotional architecture collapses. There's no third character to fall back on. It's the two of them, or it's nothing. That's not a comfortable design. It's a high-wire act. And it's precisely why, if Rockstar pulls it off, this could be the most emotionally ambitious story the studio has ever told. Our final community discovery is simply this. The fandom's entire 18-month project of mapping, theorizing, waveform analyzing, and frame counting has been, at its heart, an act of collective anticipation for the moment when the guessing finally ends. Every corrupt cop theory, every ankle monitor debate, every Brian Heder as the villain thread, every reconstructed inch of the Leonida map, all of it exists in the space Rockstar deliberately left empty. And on November 19th, that space fills. The theories resolve into answers. We finally learn what the easy score was, and how it went wrong, and who stacked the deck, and whether Jason ever gets his easy life, and whether Lucia's mother's dream of the good life was ever anything but a half-baked fantasy after all. The community built cathedrals of speculation in the dark. Soon, someone turns on the lights, and so, investigators, we come to the end of tonight's file. Let the pace slow now. Let your shoulders drop a little. We have walked a long way through the neon and the salt water tonight, from a dock where a man raised a pistol and a woman held a briefcase full of her whole future, through the prison gate and the fast boats and the swamps full of alligators, past the paranoid friends and the smiling moguls and the smuggler who might love a young man or might sell him for parts. We have separated what is known from what is merely hoped, held the confirmed close and the rumoured at a gentle arm's length, and found, at the centre of all of it, two ordinary people who only ever wanted a little more than the world was willing to give them. Somewhere out there in the dark, Vice City is still glowing. The pink light still washes over the Art Deco fronts, the palms still lean in the warm wind off the water, and the long bridges of the quays still stretch out over black quiet channels toward islands where the boats sleep at their moorings. The swamps of grass rivers breathe slow and green under a low moon, and two people you have not yet met, but somehow already know, are out there in that beautiful, dangerous state, about to make a choice that changes everything. A couple against the odds, on the darkest side of the sunniest place in America, holding on to each other because holding on is all they have. You do not have to worry about them tonight. Their story will keep. It will be there in November, patient and waiting, and you will meet them properly when the time comes. For now, there is nothing left to solve and nothing left to chase. The files are closed. The map is folded. The lights of Leonida are dimming, one window at a time, going soft and gold and then dark, until all that is left is the warm hush of the water and the slow, steady quiet of a world winding down toward sleep. Rest easy, investigator. The deck can wait, the neon can fade, and so can you. Sweet dreams.